Split screen scroll is one of the most coveted tutorials that we're going to be covering, and we have two options for you. So let's get into the build. So first we're going to show you kind of like how it's set up and what exactly the settings you need. So we are going to be providing you this canvas as well as how to actually do it. So as you can see, we want this top layer to be the fixed block. So all of this will be full height, and whatever you have under it, you can make as many canvases as you want. You can make one large canvas that scrolls, but we're going to be building this from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and add a blank page. And like I said before, this will be your fixed block. So this will be set to 50% of your screen. So we're going to make it at 600. I want to clip it to the left, or if you're doing it on this side, you can clip it to the right. This will be about 600 just because that's generally the smallest screen size. Sorry for the cat, she will not stop. And I like to do this in mobile as well. So this is going to take up the full mobile block. So it really doesn't matter how big you make this because I'm not going to set this one to fixed. It's just going to display the information and then it's going to scroll and show the rest of it. Okay, so now that we have our background set up, I'm going to add in a title. And because this is on a white or on a black, I'm going to make the text white. And you can center it however you want. Kind of play around with how much text you want, what exactly you want displayed right here. You could possibly do like for a contact, you could say contact us, have some information, have some more information down here clipped. Just go play, have fun, play with it. All right, so I actually want these to span the full width as well as the background. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this. So that way when we preview it, it's going to span the full 50% width. And sorry, I am a perfectionist, so I will try to hurry. Okay, so we're also going to want some more clipping text at the bottom. We're going to want that to span as well, and we need it to be a different color. So this is going to be 50% height, and I want this one to be clipped to the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and first set this to window height. And your background is going to need to set to transparent. So that way whatever slides in from the under or from a lower Z index is going to show. Okay, so I want this one clipped to the bottom. You can also do something that's clipped to the top. And then set it that way. So now once we view it, okay, now I see like exactly what I need to change, and it's just pretty much a trial and error process at this point. Okay, so I have the base of my fixed content that I want set. So now I am going to want to set this to a higher Z index, and now I'm going to create my content that's going to be scrolling. So I'm going to add a blank canvas. Okay, so now we want to make sure that whatever we have in the remaining canvases are going to be only on the left side because we have our fixed clipping right here. So I'm going to go ahead, and I like to do this just as a shortcut and copy my background up here and then paste it here. So I know exactly like, hey, this is going to be used space. It's always going to be, whatever it's taken up right here. So let's just change this background color so we can show you where it is. Okay, so right now you can see that I have my fixed window, but it's scrolling. So I know that this top block has to be set to sticky top. So now you can see that it's bumped that second block up to the top, and now we can start scrolling stuff under. So this will just have, you know, some paragraph text right here. I guess that didn't really do much to it. Blah, blah, blah. You get the point. Okay, so as I'm doing this, I also need to be mindful over here. And now because I've pasted my background layer from our top fixed block, it's showing right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide this on mobile and kind of like tweak my settings over here. And because I didn't set this one to window height or top on scroll, and you can also set this one to window height if you would like all of this information displayed, kind of like how you have it on desktop, but obviously we can have things fixed to the top as you're scrolling on mobile, but sometimes it can get really frustrating. At least I know I do when I don't have proper space. So you can set this to window height, and then, you know, once your content scrolls. Okay, and then just clip this one to the top. And then you kind of, you know, emulate that desktop view, but it's still kind of like doing what you need to on mobile. Okay. And in order to get this this left content clipped, there are ways to do it. You could easily just go, you know, horizontal locking, but that will kind of span this text for you. So my little cheat, and I know I probably is not accurate, is to kind of like size this block how I want the paragraphs to show up, and then I will just, you know, add an enter somewhere on here. So now when it spans, it will kind of keep the orientation of your text and then still span at 50%. So you can also do this with images. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull an image. And it's kind of like all just personal preference. You can set this to fill, which if you clip it, it will kind of like fill the whole content. Something I do like to do as well is contain. So it will keep your container, but it will also keep the orientation of your image. So it will still span 50% to the left. It's just kind of like accounting for the orientation of your image. Okay, so obviously I'm not that concerned about mobile right now, but you obviously should be. So now we can see that we have our first block, and once I start adding more blocks, you'll start to notice that it's going to stack and we're going to be able to scroll. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this block, and just so you can see properly, we're going to change the image or the background layers. And I'll just add a few here just so you can see. Okay, so now we are fixed on the right. We're scrolling content on the left. So it's exactly how we want it. You can put as much or as little text in here as you want. I mean, you can even, you know, kind of go and do services or what have you. But say now that I want, you know, these to kind of be fixed height to match this right column. So I'm going to go ahead and make that window height as well, but I am not going to make it sticky. Okay, so now you can see that we are the same height and width as our right fixed block, but now we are scrolling. So you can do the same thing here where, you know, you're adjusting kind of how you want your content to display. It's just pretty much however you want to do it. So if you also want your image to span the top too, all you're going to do is just make sure it's clipped to the left and it's vertical locked. Okay, so that is the style 1. And now we're going to also do style 2, which is a little bit different just because, you know, we want our content to kind of clip to the top or be the full height of the screen and then still have an image that is fixed to the top. So to get this kind of style, it takes a little bit of a workaround, which now we are going to be using a just 1 pixel sticky image and a full height text layer. So we can go ahead and add a blank page and we're going to start from scratch. So with this, usually it's because we have like text that's above it. Just like, you know, this is somewhere in the middle of our page. So we're obviously going to want to kind of account for that fixed text, or I'm sorry, the fixed image, while still having the opportunity to kind of scroll along the page. Okay, so let's just pretend that this is a lot of text. You know, you have some images in here and what have you. Okay. I should get it started. Okay, so now we're at the point where, you know, we're halfway down our page. Now we want the next block to be scrolling, a sticky image and then with scrolling text. So with this one, it's a little bit different just because we're kind of pasting an image to that 50% ratio and it's locking. So we want the image block to be, we want the image block to be set to 1, and then we want the text to be set to 0. So that way the image will kind of sit over top of this, but then once you get to the second sticky image, it's going to be a higher stacking point. And then this one is going to be the same stacking point as your previous block. So you just kind of keep how many ever you want, you just keep kind of rotating those and then going at a higher stacking point versus lower stacking point. Okay, so let's go back to our sample page. Okay, so this is going to be our image. So let's go ahead and just grab an image. And we want this to be 0, 0, and 600. Okay, so your canvas is going to be set to your canvas is going to be set to 1 pixel, but this image right here, because we do not know the full height of their computer, and you kind of have to go on the assumption that, you know, they're probably using something big, or if they're not, you still want it to, you know, fill that size. So typically we do 1440, which is the full height of a Big Mac. So that way, if, you know, they're viewing it on a Big Mac, it's still like filling up the full height and width of their screen. And we just kind of do something like this. Okay, so this is your fixed image. So we want this to be set a z-index of 1 because we want it to stack over the 0 stacking order block that will have your content. It's going to be set to 1 and it's going to be set to tap on scroll. So this is important for if you're having content and then you get to the top and you're like, okay, well, I want that to stick there. So the top on scroll is important. And I like to just make the background layer whatever background we're going to be choosing for our scrolling content. Okay, so now we need to create the canvas that has the text. Okay. So right here, you can obviously see that it's already stacking under it because we haven't given it a z-index. This is our first one. I want this to be the same color as the background up there. And this will just be, you know, the same height as the image. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take some text, pop it right here. And this works the same way as the first styling. You'll still, if you want it to span, then you're going to go ahead and just enter in, you know, those spaces. Okay, so this block right here, I want it to be full height because I want it to take up the full screen as they're reading the content. So this canvas is going to be set to window height with no sticky set. So now as we're scrolling, our image is stuck to the top. Well, obviously we have a full height set. So you'll obviously want to make sure that's clipped to the left. And you can also clip that to the right if you want. Okay, so our first sticky block is set. Now we want to create, and actually you can just duplicate this top one because it's already styled, you know, it's going to say sticky image 1. And let's duplicate this, move it down here. And now we're going to reverse this order. So I'm going to stick it to the right. It's going to be on the right, and we'll just change this image. Okay, and you'll notice now at this point that because our background is set to transparent and you're seeing this other image stacking. So once we duplicate this block and then move it below, now because this block that we duplicated right here is set to a lower value than this one that we set to a z-index of 1, you're not seeing that content pop up. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a higher stacking order set. So I actually want this to sit over top of this block. So this block is set to z-index of 1. So this block is set to z-index of 0. I want this one to be set to 2. And then so this one would be set to 1. So 0, 1, and then 1, 2. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to adjust my text. And then let's just set this to a different background image so you can see. Okay. Okay, so now you can see that our text content is set to window height. So it's showing a full window height of our image. And then once we're scrolling, we have our second image that's set to top on scroll. And then our second text block is set to window height. So that works well and good. And then if you have more content on your page, you're just going to want to make sure that you're setting that to a higher z-index. I'll just go ahead and pull in my remaining content. So, you know, say I have tons more text, as long as the rest of your stacking order z-index has to be a higher value. So if you have 5 canvases, you know, left on your page and you have the footer, you just need to make sure that you're setting those to a higher z-index. So that way, whatever you have following these fixed blocks are also stacking appropriately over top of it. So if I were to, you know, add in I guess we'll just duplicate this one and change the text. So, you know, you have your other following blocks. As long as they're set to a higher stacking order than your sticky images, everything will kind of function normally. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, go ahead, pop them in the tutorial and I will get them answered.